The controversy is cutting across backyards in West Omaha, where OPPD has an easement. Dozens of homeowners have been notified many mature trees are being removed. Mike McKnight was there for a contentious backyard meeting. It's a story you'll only see on 6 News.
Sparks flew almost immediately.
And you guys allowed them to be here for 50 years.
As an OPPD project team explains to 3 homeowners why most of their backyard trees will be cut down.
If these power lines fall down and there's no trees to catch those wires, they got a better chance of hitting my house.
There's a possibility that an arc of the line can hit the tree is up on fire, boom, your house is on fire too.
An outdated power line is being replaced to add more capacity, but these homeowners want more compassion toward trees in the easement OPPD has the right to remove and is already cutting down.
Having a clear corridor makes it a lot safer for the operations, makes it safer for our crews as we go out. And if something does happen, there's less likelihood that a tree would hit a power line and cause an outage.
No reasonable person is going to say that those trees are going to interfere with those power lines.
50 feet either side of the power line must be cleared of all trees, regardless of height. And the tree removal project is buzzing right along. OPPD says it has to be complete by April, the start of the migratory bird season. The tree clearing under the power line starts at Pacific Street and runs to Blondo, with 125 homeowners losing backyard shade.
I guarantee 95% of these people have no idea what's starting to happen already.
OPPD says starting in November, all homeowners along the easement received 3 phone calls until reached to notify them the trees would be cut down. Also letters sent to many last week.
Would you allow us to gather the residents of this community just to have, so we have a little bit more understanding of what's going on?
Rather than hold a full town hall type meeting, it felt more appropriate and prudent for us to reach out to the directly impacted landowners.
OPPD says cutting down trees in its right-of-way is the only safe way to put up a new power line and maintain it for years to come.
So the impacts of us accessing to do this are going to be significant, and we'll address and work with these landowners.
But homeowners complain the utility needs a better line of communication with them.
I got 2 trees that'll be gone that have been there 30, 40 years.
On your side near 123rd and Pacific, Mike McKnight, 6 News.
OPPD says the old lattice-style towers built in the 1950s will be replaced by modern steel structures. The construction phase starts this fall, and OPPD will have teams in the neighborhoods to assess any damage to fences or property and compensate those homeowners.